So funny, he looks like Dave Grohl, doesn't he? He's playing Pretender. Is that rolling?
He's such a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Hope that was rolling, that'd be good. I'll tell you. So we're here with Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl, damn it.
At Grohl Studios now, we're here with Chris Bailey, in Nottingham, Bailey Studios. If you've not seen this before, this is very, very, very cool in terms of a photo shoot studio. Bailey's a very stylish guy, clearly, so maybe we'll give you a little tour as well. But yeah, up here in Nottingham, it is 10:10 in the morning. Mike has just arrived, he got a little bit lost. I got an Uber here, super easy. But we're here for Mike's big day, so we'll show you the setup. Mike has been with me 3 years as a client. He's completely natural. I don't think he has any aspirations to compete, or at least he's not said so before. But maybe that'll change after today. I met up with him a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago at Fit Expo. Saw how he was looking, very, very, very happy with how he was getting on. And we've just brought him in for his shoot today. After this, I think he wants a burger, which has been very well earned. What I want to talk about today is the peaking process and how he's peaked him. Because it's been a pretty standard peak, but I think there's a lot of confusion around it. And I know a couple of weeks ago in the vlog with Andrew, I said peaking needs a whole video in itself. So what we'll go through today is maybe like the do's and don'ts of peaking, what we've done with Mike, why I think it's worked, and what we've done like on show day as well. I think that's a big one for a lot of people. So that'll be the topic of the vlog today. Let's get in there, take a little look, see how he's getting on, and then I'll just drop little bits of information in as we go through the vlog. Mike, how long has this prep been? 20 weeks? 22? Right, so we've been prepping for 20 weeks. He started up at 79.4 kilos, which is the heaviest we got into. Today he's 60.4, I think is the last weigh in. So just under 20 kilos taken off. He's not stage lean by any means, but he's not far off. If he wanted to push for it, he definitely could. Upper body's been there for a little while. So 4 weeks ago, we basically said, do you want to push a bit harder and bring the legs in? So it's been pretty savage. He's been pretty depleted for quite a while now. I think he's been on 1,600 calories for the last 4 weeks, which relative to his body weight is not that surprising. But obviously it sucks, right? But the aim was to get him obviously in really good condition for a photo shoot, and then start to drop off fatigue and then move into the peak week, which obviously we've done. And we've run a really typical looking peak week, which sort of think we run with stage athletes. For a couple of reasons. One, Mike's condition warranted it. I always say to people, if your condition's not there, you don't really deserve a peak week if you want. But number two, also just for Mike's like education development, so that he can go through it and obviously pass that on to his clients. Because I'm sure at some point, especially after this, he will be getting some photo shoot clients as well. So we'll move on and talk about the peak week in a minute.
It's not big enough.
But it's weight classes though. So you'd be up against other not big enough people in your eyes.
Small lads.
They make it so that you are big enough.
But I see like some juniors come through and they're massive.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
Do you know what I thought that? I thought it's fucking getting ridiculous, but then I started watching that argument actually last night, and it's like when he was 20, it was fucking huge.
Yeah.
yeah.
But mate, if we all had that mindset, no one would ever, like someone shared someone yesterday, some 20-year-old classic guy, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm not doing this again. But then again, it's like, it's not always I don't know, it's tricky. I don't ever want to tell someone to compete for a reason less than winning.
Yeah.
But also, there is also second, third and fourth in the world, if you like, if that's your goal.
Great experience.
Yeah. I'm not trying to convince you, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, just get quite a bit on.
Oh, you got some fairy liquids. So in terms of kind of peak week itself, obviously coming into peak week, Mike was super depleted. Like I said, 1,600 calories, eating plain dust. So coming into peak week, he very much warranted being peaked. So what we did is initially ran 2 days of fat loading, which went down really well actually. The problem we had was he was in hospital or A&E on what day? What morning was it? Sunday morning. Saturday morning, Mike was in A&E with terrible stomach cramps. luckily that all cleared up, and then he moved from kind of his last few days of dieting into 2 days of fat loading, which went in really easily, which is good. So there was no kind of inflammation. That dropped off. So 2 days of fat loading. We then went into 2 days of planned carb loading. In terms of fat loading days, we did 80 grams of fat 2 days, I think. Let me pull that up actually. I'll double check that. Saturday, 3rd of June, so 5 days ago, first day of fat loading. Training was as per normal, cardio got halved, and steps were as per normal. So we ran 160 protein, so slightly reduced, 50 carbs, so literally trace carb, just veg, and then 80 fat. We then ran that again for a second day, and I'm pretty sure we saw weight drop across the course of those 2 days. We then went into the first day of carb loading, so that was Monday. Today is Thursday for reference. So I had 2 planned days of carb loading. Based on Mike's weight, 60 kilos, likelihood is if he sat and did absolutely nothing all day for 2 days, he would need around 600 to 700 grams of carbs to fill his intramuscular space. So we went with 350 because obviously there would be some movement going on. So 350 carb, brought fats down to 50, so kind of a maintenance level, and 2 days of 350 carb. Day 1, weight barely moved. Day 2, weight moved a little bit. Day 3 though, he woke up and he'd dropped weight quite considerably overnight, and that was the day when we increased water. So alongside increasing carb take, we're increasing water to obviously help shuttle those carbs into the muscle. He woke up 1 day out, I think his lightest weight yet, and I was like, right, we're gonna need a little bit more carbs today. So what I asked him to do yesterday, so we're now 1 day out, which is typically kind of the drying out day. On that day, I asked him to get an additional 300 grams of carbs in on top of what was already planned, so 400 totally. And those 300 needed to be in by 12, because then that's when we're gonna start tapering water off. So 2 big no-nos. Number 1, don't cut water while you're trying to push carbs in. Number 2, don't push carbs in once you've cut water. When it comes to sodium, I wouldn't play around with it too much. Increase it a little bit when the carbs are going in. Around sort of 1 day out, I'd kind of just keep it fairly constant unless you're really confident with what you're doing. On the inside of your left. So you've done your 2 days fat load, you've done your 2 days carb load. Probably you want to find at the end of those 2 days carb loading, you're a little bit spilled, because then you're going to have 1 day buffer between the end of the carb load and your actual shoot day, which is obviously what we've had with Mike. For myself, I went a bit more conservative. First time we peaked him properly, I didn't want him to spill for his shoot. You only get 1 chance at this. So maybe try and spill a little bit on that second day of refeed. If you do day 1 of high carb and you see your weight drop, you need to put more in the next day, because you're not filling up. Your body's just burning straight through it. It's probably just utilizing that food to continue recovering, to be honest. Yeah, if your weight drops, go a bit more aggressively second day. If your weight drops again, then you may need to put a little bit of carbs in on that kind of 3rd day, or that buffer day, or that dry out day. So with Mike, we were monitoring his weight throughout the day on those carb days, right? It was getting heavier and heavier, but then it was dropping. So I knew that he was going to wake up on 1 day out, having dropped sort of 1 to 2 kilos overnight of fluid and of some glycogen. So I then gave him a little bit extra in the morning on that 1 day out, day. So he got a little bit more in on that day in the morning, so another 300 carbs. So over the course of 3 days, he took in just over 1,000 grams of carbs, which is pretty decent for a 60 kilo male. And then we spent the rest of yesterday, so 1 day out, just kind of flushing off all that liquid, all that fluid. So water was tapered from around midday because his shoot's super early today, so we're here at 10. And then he's just been running with every meal, caffeine tablets, vitamin C, vitamin B. So these are all just natural diuretics. You don't need to do anything crazy here. Just the increase of water, or the increase of fluids, and the utilization of those very natural supplements is going to drive diuresis throughout the day. So I'm sure he was pissing quite a lot yesterday, maybe through the night as well. And then this morning, as expected, if we hadn't have given him that extra bit of food yesterday, I think he would have been at a new low weigh-in of prep, the whole prep this morning, which is not what you want on shoot day. He wants to be full, so you'd want to see your weight moving up. So I think he woke up today at 61.1 and then said, right, cool, let's see how he's looking. He sent pictures over. And the thing to bear in mind, I think, for your shoot day is you don't want to be putting loads and loads of food in. If you've missed the mark in terms of your load, shoot day is not the day to fix it, unfortunately, not with food anyway. So if you're waking up flat, hydrate a little bit, see if that has any impact. I wouldn't be slamming in loads of carbs, especially loads of high volume carbs. All you're gonna do is not necessarily bloat your stomach, but fill your stomach. You're gonna put a load of food in your belly. It's gonna be hard to control it, and you're not gonna be having that nice, tight, small waist. Sweet, so a little bit more in terms of the actual big day then. So depending on what time you're on stage is kind of, or on stage or doing your shoot is kind of gonna determine your approach. If you're someone that wakes up, looks great upon wake, dry, lean, crispy, then, and you're on early, then perfect. If you've got to then hold that look throughout the day, it's a bit trickier. There's a few things that we can do to kind of keep a real close and tight eye on what you're doing. So number one would be, on wake, get your shots. So get your checking pictures, analyze them or send them over to your coach, whatever. What I would then do is nothing crazy. Depending on the guidance, you want to hydrate a little bit because you are going to wake up entirely dehydrated. We don't want to be completely dehydrated on show day. So maybe somewhere between 300 to 700 ml of water, depending on how much you think you need. Take on a little bit of food potentially, so nothing crazy. Again, the things that are going to just give you a bit of energy, or not just a feeling about something in your stomach, would be maybe protein. Nothing new, please, nothing new. Let's stick to like egg whites, chicken breasts, stuff like that, whey protein maybe, and then just a little bit of fat. So, and that's really only if we need it. Then again, after that, sort of 90 minutes after, more checking pics, see how we're looking and see how you're weighing as well. What you want to be doing is keep a track of your weight and how it's moving. What you should have done earlier in the week is establish, okay, I look my best at this weight. And then that is kind of a weight that you want to get back to on show day. So with Mike, for example, he woke up, as expected, his weight had dropped a little bit. So we then gave him a little meal of protein, fats, 500 ml of water. He did that once and then he's done that again. So he's had 2 meals of, in total, 60 grams of protein, 40 grams of fat today, just enough to tide him over. He looks unreal, as you've seen. And then obviously pre-shoot, he's gone for some carbs, so just some sweets, easily digestible, tasty, and then a pre-pump from Supplement Needs. So some sort of pump product with citrulline malate in it, something that's going to help with your blood flow, and then a bit of extra sodium. So pre-pump will have some sodium in it. If you have like a pump product, it's probably got sodium in it, but a little bit extra sodium won't hurt at that point. It's going to help hopefully bring up your blood pressure, help you get a pump a bit better, and therefore bring your best up on show day. The last thing we'll go over is some things to fix on show day if stuff's going wrong, and maybe just some like big don'ts on show day as well. You've got show day, kind of all the hard work's done. There's a few things to do and not to do. So number one, I mentioned earlier, don't take loads of food in on show day. You see people hammering back rice cakes. Food takes 2 hours even just to get through your stomach. It's literally just going to be sat there. You're not going to be reaping the benefits from that in terms of muscle glycogen. So don't be hammering loads of food and show day. If you've missed the mark in terms of getting full, don't then go and spill or ruin your presentation on stage because you've got a full belly. Number one. Number two, if you wake up flat and you think, I need more food, first things first, get some fluid on board. So 500 ml, a litre, you're going to lose that much overnight anyway. You're going to be sweating that out. So on show day, get hydrated and see how that changes the look. Like I said earlier, make sure you keep monitoring the look. Every little change you make, see how that translates into the look. That's if you're flat. If you've spilled, not great to be honest. If you spilled, I would not suddenly cut back in water. Just keep a decent flow of water going in. If you have spilled, something that you can definitely look to do is kind of try and up your expenditure a little bit. So we don't want to be sweating, but you could kind of up the frequency of your pump ups maybe. So pump up every half an hour, every hour, and try and get through some of that food that you've kind of got hanging on to. That's about it. If you're not lean enough, you're not lean enough. But yeah, don't be hammering loads of food. Don't restrict your water completely. Like, you need more water than you think. And don't be cutting your sodium. Oh my God, I did this before. Don't ever cut your sodium. You need that for a pump. You will look flatter and watery quicker than you can say electrolytes. And that's that. The only other thing to worry about, which is not peak week, but is your post-show phase, which I think we can cover in another video. But for today, we'll wrap it up here. Hopefully you've seen Mike looks absolutely fantastic. I'm absolutely buzzing with how it's come out. We've got one more photo shoot in a couple of weeks, and then it's on to some shows. So I'm super excited to keep that content coming. If you've liked it, drop me a comment, share it, subscribe. If you've got any questions on any of what we've spoken about, stick it in the comments.